Welcome, everybody, to the Iron Butterfly, and here it is. Which is the 2021 presentation in honor of Women's History Month, an event that has been taking place in Newburyport for a long time now, and which has been a joy to be part of. First, my wholehearted thanks to Tiffany Bartholomew and her crew, who took on this task on this very difficult year, as she has done each year, as well as to FRANNY Osmond and Sandra Thaxter, two of our poets, who, in addition to working on their own poems, volunteered to help by recording many of our poems and teaching some of us how to record. And of course, my congratulations to all of the poets who responded to the challenge of making this gorgeous video with their usual skill, imagination, and gusto. We've been celebrating women and their abilities and contributions to the world for years now. But this time, not in the words of famous women from the past, but in our own words. In personal stories of our own mothers and sisters, daughters and teachers, pioneer women from our own family trees, personal stories and role models or non-role models who can be just as valuable by teaching us what not to do. Some of our poems were inspired by relatives who fought for justice, for workers' rights, for the education of the handicapped, or racial equality. Other poems became fantasies in which the dead speak for themselves, or objects, in one instance in this year, a cane. Or the title of this year's event, Iron Butterfly, inspired a pair of monologues in which a caterpillar and a butterfly observe each other with curiosity and illustrate the psychological changes that take place before a girl becomes a woman. We hope that you will enjoy our efforts and may even be tempted to remember and write about women in your lives who have been iron butterflies. We all have them. See if you can do something about some of yours. Thank you. My poem today is a ballad based on a true event. The background is the garment district of New York City during the Great Depression, when jobs were very scarce and therefore money was very scarce. And if you were fortunate enough to have a job, you were not likely to give it up for anything. It's titled The Ballad of the Seamstresses, and it has an epigraph. For D.M.E., who was the first to rise. Hiroko, the last one hired, was the first to show up each day, her hair in a bun and lunch in a bag. She never had much to say, and nobody asked where she was from, but could tell it was far away. I'm a widow, she told the foreman, with 3 small mouths to feed. But I've been a seamstress all my life, and a break is all I need. Machine number 7 is yours for now. You must keep it with skill and speed. Not the first week or the second, but the third, when half awake after a night with a cranky child, she made her first mistake. That's it, too bad, the foreman said. I'm afraid you've had your break. But I'm the first at work, she pleaded, and the last to lock the door. And this is the first mistake I've made. Said the foreman, you'll make no more. You heard me, pack up and go. But his voice was a call to war. That's when a sudden silence came down over them all. Giovanna put down her scissor. Dolores, gray-haired and tall, stood up to fold unfinished work. Not a pin was heard to fall. What's this? The foreman shouted. And where do you think you're going? Wherever Hiroko goes, she said. There are other outfits sewing. Think you'll get faster into port with fewer rowers rowing? Now the seamstresses, one by one, stood up till by and by, as if with iron wings they moved, the same look in each eye, purposeful as a regiment, and deft as a butterfly. All right, the foreman conceded. Everyone stays, I swear. I give you my word, Dolores, Farah, Natasha, Claire. The greater mistake made here was mine, and I confess my share. Oh, what a happy ending. And if it were always true. But it was this time, and the moral's right. Twice stronger than one is two. And if power alone gets to work its might, it may soon come after you.
My name is Sandra Thaxter. I'm reading a poem inspired by the biography of a Black woman living in Gloucester in 1813. At age 14, she became the sole provider for her mother and 7 siblings. She worked at various jobs, mostly as a domestic in the homes of the sea captains. The poem begins. This is my place, here with the rocky land, an ever-present sea, its changing moods, its silent reach so far beyond my view. I know this voice, the endless thrashing waves that pounding beat against the rocky shore. Whether friend or foe it meant to be, I meet its troubled song. Here I found one yellow flower, bright among the rocks. It bravely holds its petals to the sun. I lie in dewy grass and drink the air that rises with my long-held tears. I exhale, so sweet this place that holds me. My nostrils fill with rain-washed air, refresh my troubled heart. I watch the edge of the fog lift my heart. New joy rises like a prayer.
She said. Where she grew up, near Esopus, New York, a statue has been set. It shows the scars engraved into her back then, before she could reply to her enslaver in his tongue. He'd beat the English into her, a child he'd bought alongside of a flock, from neighbors who spoke only Dutch at home. The statue shows a striding child, a girl who carries jugs beneath her arms. On the back, the scars, deep grooves, remind us of her suffering, but also her survival. She would not escape from slavery until she was a woman grown, who walked away, one infant only in her arms, of her beloved 5. She held the bitter taste of freedom on her tongue for long, long years. Then she learned how to use her tongue, and she learned how to use it well. She fought to get her little son back, and she won in court. For freedom and for suffrage, she spoke out like a ringing bell, calling soldiers and believers to the cause. A statue stands in Florence, Massachusetts, listing many deeds of one who sojourned there a while. A woman grave, but filled with hope, who spoke her truth out loud. Sojourner truth, grown up, grown old, who started life enslaved as Little Belle.
Hi, my name is ZARA Robb, and I'll be reading a ballad called The Ballad of Nelly, Robb. The trail's a rutted path along a ridge. The wheels of other wagons mark her wagon's creaking route down to the eel. She'll pass the night there at the fork. Alone, she goes to stake her homestead claim. So here's the crossing, here's the bridge. She sleeps tonight with crickets, bats, and stars, and sighs there with the sighing sedge. A map will guide her on her way until she stops and stares. This is her stake, this rocky plot of ground she now surveys. Time to unload, shovel, rake, lantern, tent, and bedding for the nights. Feed for the horse, a rifle too. She'll need to gather kindling for a fire. She plans on eating rabbit stew. She'll break and shovel clods of earth for peas, potatoes, cabbage, carrots, chive, and hope this hard packed soil will nurture them, and water let them thrive. She feeds her horse and stands a while by him, just stands to see what's to be seen of ground where only wild onions root, neglected by the rain. For food she shoots and kills a tasty hare, then falls asleep beneath the stars, but not before her shot rouses two boys who stare at her, then disappear. But after she has seen them too, is she aware of those abiding here, who ranged the woods and hills and coasts and thrived in this dry land 5,000 years? Now the sun is up, the wagon's hitched. She's on the road. She has a chore 10 miles further on, where there's a town. Her stop's the Branscombe General Store. A man behind the counter, name of John. She takes him in, not a large man, not one who's likely to go off like Pa or die soon as her mom had done. I'm John, he says, and shyly grins and ducks his head. His cheeks are flushing red. I'm Nell from Pennsylvania, she says. That way's my 40-acre stead. She gestures with her arm, just north of here. Up by the soda springs, he asks, eyes lighting up, but she is turned away, surveying the shelves, back on her tasks. Suddenly he's awake. What do you need? Please, I'd like 5 pounds of flour and packs of carrots, peas, and seeds galore, and 50 pounds of manure. Loading her wagon up, he says, blush, blush, you'll need fresh goods quite soon enough. I'll deliver them and spare your horse. These loads in winter here are rough. Imagine you'll be putting up a house. He hasn't talked this much all year. For now, I have a rifle and a tent. Aha, so he can rescue her. Before the summer's out, he's shown just where to find the famous soda spring, how best to plant the crops in this terrain. Soon, he's given her a ring. Before the winter rains, she marries him, the license signed in Oroville. She gets a roof and girls and boys, 3 each, and biddings she's called to fulfill. Their house is not a little prairie place. In winter, pipes freeze up and break beneath 2 solid feet of ice. Her wood-fed stove is one that cooks and streaks the room with soot. In one, the doula helps to birth 6 babes, boring breeches. When she isn't doing that, she's busy baking pies or canning peaches, then selling them to Civil War veterans down from the scrub and pine and rain, drawn to town just once or twice a year for Nell's canned pears and John's sloe gin. She sorts and stamps the mail and the PO or stocks the tiny general store, while John, 2 decades older than she is, goes off to pan for gold somewhere. An uncle dies, she gets a little cash, then puts in cabana by the eel, then rents them out to those who can't afford the high Sierras. She's long acquitted of her rocky stead. Who owns it now is not known, but not the tribes. And of those boys, her first night here, it seems she's seen no traces, but and the sons who come to school in town to learn with others in a ring, who skate the eel in wintertime and catch the silver fish with nets in spring.
This poem is called Solidaris. It's by M. Frost Delaney, and it is about home front women. They cook the meals and sweep the floors and wait in heat for men who fight on mountainsides, defend their land with guns and love and hate. Each woman worries of her husband's fate, but feeds the children, chickens, and abides. They cook the meals and sweep the floors and wait. Each day they set a table with a plate for him, an empty chair, a man who rides, defends their land with guns and love and hate. Each night the women pray to contemplate how to go on and ask the saints, their guides, to help them cook the meals and clean and wait. And in their dreams their men come home, a gate of peace wings open wide, brings men back in tides, no more defense of lands with guns and hate. Then twilight dims to black, the dreams too late, the women widows now, no longer brides who cook the meals and sweep the floors and wait. They take up guns, defend their land with hate. Thank you.
This is Mary Cook. Thank you so much for the chance to share with you our family's iron butterfly. Great Aunt Clara's cane. I don't know where the cane has gone, ebony with golden head, embossed, inscribed to Clara Bloom, in thanks for her undying aid to women, children, families who suffered from the scourge of drink. Great Aunt Clara scared us all. Seated by my sister's bed, she guarded her, who lay quite limp within the steamer tent set up to help her breathe while suffering rheumatic fevers, heats, and chills. With needle eyes and mouth turned down, she never missed a single sin. When I, just 4, tripped on the cord and stopped the steamer in its tracks, the look from her brought me to tears. I thought that I had killed my sister. Her voice was honed by editing the newspaper, inherited from her father Bloom upon his death, who, counter to prevailing views, had confidence she could succeed without the help of men's advice. She wrote with passion, not disdain, of children left bereft of shoes, of mothers who disguised a bruise, the emblem of the payday binge that followed days of crushing toil at mines and mills and factory floors. She claimed, "The use of alcohol is causing all this misery," and zealously set out to save these families who suffered so. She joined the Women's Temperance Group, who later gifted her the cane. Aunt Clara, did you need that cane and all the sisterhood support when challengers berated you? They called you prude, misunderstood your sincere drive to save the lives of women anguished in the home. I'm sorry that we lost the cane and did not value your pursuits, which history now counts as naught. For all we know, the things we do with every good intent today, in time might also lose their worth.
Hi, I'm Franny Osman, and this poem is a villanelle with all its attendant rhyme schemes. Joining her. My sister knows that it is time to run. I, on the other hand, head in hand, stay. A conversation's triggered her. She's done. The mood has changed. The fun fell out of fun. My sister glances back as if to say, "Come on, Unity, aren't you going to run?" She wants a lot from me, but I give none. Can hardly see her move, sands in the way. A conversation's triggered her. She's done. She waits in lonely safety, hopes I'll come. She dreams in vain of the auspicious day when I too know that it is time to run. And then, surprise, I turn to everyone. I speak up as I've never done with, "Hey, this conversation's triggering. I'm done." And just like that, our voices become one. She's waited many years to see this day, when two together, hand in hand, we run. This conversation's triggering. We're done.
I was so inspired by hearing other poets' poems that actually told HERstories of women, that I went back to my great-grandmother's autobiography that she wrote in 1942, and I wrote a poem from it. Lena in Haverhill. The story my great-grandma Lena wrote starts in Stettles and arrives by boat. Then 1895 ends up in Haverhill with bad luck Pa and strapping brother Zundel. No dress or combed hair helped Lena to age. 14 was too young for a shoe factory wage. She sewed for 5 weeks for a seamstress friend who had no way to pay her at the end, but gave Lena instead a sewing machine, as old, she wrote, as Subetsky the King. The three lived in a tiny attic space. She sold the clothes she sewed, 10 cents apiece. By kerosene, she worked hard as she could and listened to strikes in the neighborhood. One day, her father bought a gift for her, a sailor's hat of white, the first she wore. On Sabbath, Lena walked out with a friend. They crossed the Bradford Bridge. Then came a wind. Before my great-grandma could grab her hat, it disappeared into the Merrimack. In writing, Lena speaks of pain or tsuris, referring to this disappointing loss. Fires in Rojinoy, hunger on ships were dwarfed compared to losing Papa's gift. A little older, she worked in a shop. 10 hours a day, she made shoe heels nonstop. She glued and pressed. Her hands swelled up and hurt. How much did Lena get for all this work? But 12 or 13 at 5 cents a square. Non-Jews got 6 cents, which did not seem fair. She saw a store with a help wanted sign. They needed a heel maker for the line. The boss said, "Sorry, no, the job's been filled." And every day she reapplied, but knew. He answered no, because she was a Jew. One day the boss, short-handed, desperate, offered the job when she applied for it. The other working girls were scared of her. They called her Sheeny, Shylock, Christ killer. The Jewish girl has got to take a hike, or all the rest of us are going to strike. The boss, who'd hesitated hiring Jews, invoked new liberal and socialist views. "You tell me who I should employ," he yelled. "Don't dictate what I do. You go to hell." Despite the girl's objections, she was hired. He added, anti-Jew, "You steal, you're fired." The co-workers would spit at Lena's feet. They wouldn't talk to her or try to meet. One girl named Katie Goodman wasn't mean. She made an effort to be kind to Lena, explained the fears and myths they held, and then she said, "I find you nice. I'll be your friend." And soon there were more Jewish girls at work, more friendships formed, the spits and curses curbed. Might Katie's great-grandchildren live near Haverhill? I bet they do. They're kind and they behave well.
Hello, I'm Peter Bryant. I'm going to tell you a story about a butterfly and a caterpillar noticing each other. Iron butterfly looks down, soft caterpillar looks up. "That thing down there is rather small. It hardly moves around at all. That thing down there is rather slow. It hardly knows which way to go. That thing down there is somewhat sad. Somehow I think I am his dad." That thing that flutters in the sky, it looks like me. I wonder why. It seems so free, and it can go anywhere the wind does blow. It soars so high with wings white, and now it's fluttered out of sight. I know being grounded limits me. I do know that my thoughts are free. I cannot look so far ahead, but power is in my thought, it said. Although I'm tiny, I'm not in fright. My strong thoughts will make it right. Those strong winds will make it hard. I will always cross the yard. You might think that I am weak, a little flutter, hide and seek. The truth is that I am really strong, and in my thoughts I sing this song. I don't know what the future brings. I worry now about these things. All I know, above, beneath, the world is just my little leaf. I don't know how, as I have fear. I really must get out of here. If only I could swoop and fly, I'd roam the world and seek the why. Oh, how I wish that I could fly low and high, command the sky. I'm up here now with soaring wings to find out about the truth of things. I'm up here now, I'm on the brink. It only matters what you think. The thing I'm seeing is so clear, strength is just a lack of fear. So as I flutter into night, what really matters is doing right. Thank you.
My geography. I am from Great Neck. My rusty two-wheeler takes me up Clare Street and down from the vacant lot. We're taught to stop at the busy street sign. My sisters and I have some boundaries. I am from Cutchogue, Mattatuck, Greenport. A rowboat with Rico, our naughty black poodle. He's on the prow. I'm rowing to rushes near minnows and blue crabs, rowing through child thought and circling with cormorants. I am from Jones Beach. August waves tumble us out on the seaweed-marked tide line, past crunching sharpness of shells. In winter, wool coats, beach boardwalk, wind blowing, we hunch bracing into it backwards. I am from Malwa, White Plains, then Manhasset. Mother's red roses and dark wine Wigelia. Central Park picnics, Circle Line sightseeing cruises, Times Square. Matinee tickets my grandmother gives us at Christmas. We all left Lady Liberty, also the 100-foot floor ride to the view from the top of the Empire State. I am from teachers and lawyers, Aunt Bess, from artists and nurses, Ohio, strong women who knew about Kenya and Saturn. I'm from Miss Trask's 4th grade class, where she spots my first poem on a desktop of daydreams. My curly-haired dad writes late into the night at his curly maple desk. Brass key in his pocket. Pigeonholes are for paper, not people. Haiku from the 1960s. 1960s 7th grade advanced math class. Co-ed group project. Girls' solutions seldom heard. Boys assume they're smarter. My college advisors suggest careers for women. You'll want a family. Till then, you'll be a teacher. You're in liberal arts. At the Super Bowl party, men share game chatter. Gals open chips, make onion and sour cream dips.
Is it on me? Is it on me? Hello, hello?
Hello, it's March 2021 in Newburyport, Massachusetts. I'm going to tell you a story from 1959. My name is Toni Treadway, and I'm going to read a new poem as part of the HERstory observance of Women's History Month. I dedicate this poem to all the valiant women and men who work to improve public education for all our children. The Ballad of Mrs. T. The year was 1959. The town was small and warm. The men went off to offices or worked the family farm. The local Board of Education had an open seat. Mrs. T, teacher and mom, knew it was her beat. Think it over, Edie, said George. He lived next door with 4 daughters. The board's all men now, don't you see? It's time to test those waters. 3 kids and a job is a lot, she said, even with all in school. But I see my oldest drowning. If I can help him, that's cool. You know, my boy is special. He dreams, but he doesn't hear. He's failing in all classes, kept left back again this year. I think I'd better run this race and take the seat that's free. The Board of Education needs all good men. Why not a gal like me? Edie confides in one friend, Anne. Says Anne, well, I'm old-fashioned. What is it in your gleaming eyes that makes it look like passion? Think of the neighbors, Edie dear. What will they say of you? If your odd son needs extra time, the others need it too. Meetings are one night a week, and then there's endless calls. Your Dave is on the road full time, and the board are all men, all. The parents care or don't too much. The teachers won't agree. You're smart, but your home's still a mess. And you, old dear, and so old dear are we. Then Agnes, the school secretary, you'll make it. You're so smart. Education's good for us all, and you will add your heart. I never had a child of my own. I worked in school to see them. And I can tell you here and now just how learning can free them. Edie took out election papers and got herself some posters. The women came out strong for her, many first-time voters. The only thing she did not know, the constant telephoning. She left her little girl at home to deal with all that moaning. The phone rang all afternoon, Mom. The neighbors had opinions, but 4th grade homework piles up fast. I'm learning long division. My brothers aren't in the same class. They need their homework checked. And supper's such a mystery. I think that I just wrecked. Today, a call from one mean guy who said you are a commie. Another made a bad remark of what he'd do with mommy. The campaign took Edie across town to all the kitchen meetings. Friends or sitters looked after her kids while she did all the greetings. On election day, she came out top vote getter in the town. Herb on the board showed her the ropes to get her set up sound. Edie, please don't take this wrong, but your motion's sure to fail. When a woman has a good idea, she'd better hide it well. Here's how we'll work it so we can pass your brilliant legislation. One size fits all is good elsewhere, but not in education. First, we'll take a short time out, a break outside for smoking. When cigarettes let us get near, then you and I get talking. Tell me the fix, give me the shot, then second my new motion. Never make one by yourself or you will find it broken. Let's work this way until they get that you have great new fixes, the brightest one amidst a bunch of old men who hate bitches. The chairman of the board is sure that women can't do numbers. We need our budgets lined up right. We can't afford the blunders. He said that you should get on board. She can't have all the answers. And more is certain to go wrong the further she advances. Said Herb, it's hard for men to see. They think it's them or us. They'll kill off progress, strut with pride. They think you're poisonous. A woman's place is still at home was last night's resolution. The Board of Men cooled off to you and tabled your solution. Herb knew when the vote's important, we'd better use our code. You trust me now with your smart ideas, I'll move them down the road. Working behind a good, smart man was what Edie had to do. The important thing, to move along, better schools for us and you. Edie died before the rise of help that some kids needed, like special ed and classroom aids. At least her aims succeeded. The greatest gift that Edie made was to the disaffected. She grabbed those kids before they sank and made them feel respected. One smart-ass teen was on his way as juvenile delinquent. She stood by him and told him off, shape up. You're not an infant. That kid today is 74 and thanks her every day. He met the force of Mrs. T and dared not go astray.
I'm Joanne Hogan, and I have my very own iron butterflies. I'm blessed with 2 daughters, very different, you see. One was born a dreamer, one as real can be. When the dreamer was 8 and the realist 5, they had a conversation that made the dreamer cry. She flew down the stairs with tears in her eyes. She said, "There's no Santa Claus." What could I reply? "It's true," I said. "I know how you feel." She adamantly replied, "But the tooth fairy is real." Raising these 2 has been a delight. A balance, I tell myself. It's taken much might. The youngest wanting always to be like her sister. The dreamer ever on a cloud, searching out her own vista. She found it in music, playing the flute. The etudes over and over ceased to be cute. Yet her gift was something special she passed on to young and old. Through teaching and performing, it's given back 100-fold. And in this pandemic, she continues to teach, putting herself out there. Zooms become her outreach. Then there was the realist, who for years tried to follow. She discovered her true self and decided not to wallow. She put her caring heart to work at summer camp for special needs. Unbeknown so early on was the planting deep of many seeds. The realist finally found her niche. Serving others was her call. In varied programs she led the way for others to also pick up the ball. Her shining glory, though, is the child that she brought forth. A caring, loving, sensitive girl attests to her mother's worth. And in the end, I'm glad each became her own true self. The dreamer giving music, the realist her heart's wealth. Raising these girls to women in many ways set me free, for I have come to value the 2 sides of me. Iron butterflies, I must say, are really all around. Just check the mirror and you will see another one is found.
My name is Chris Bryant. The title of my poem is A Kaleidoscope of Butterflies, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Growing up, there were grandmas and aunts, and of course mother, with their tendencies to discipline, spoil, disapprove, and smother. Grandma Minnie lived with us. She often raised a righteous fuss. Her cooking lessons were memorable times, and she taught me Norwegian nursery rhymes. Grandpa Joe would patiently read to me. I would sit for hours on his knee. Mom was the quirky mix of a patchwork quilt. She blessed and cursed me with love and a load of guilt. Born in 1947, the eldest of 5, perfection was the goal for which I must strive. Set an example, she would say, and I would sass back and do it my way. Never could anything I do to her liking. Our fights always ended with me crying. But Dad was my go-to for joy in all things, gently forming a chrysalis to help spread my wings. He wrapped me in poetry, music, writing, and art, encouraged me with choices, both loving and smart. Many teachers shaped my mind, from neurotic Sister Flacella to Sister Benigna, gentle and kind. Miss Bennett taught fair competition through spelling bees. And the scary, sour-faced Sister Henrietta still haunts my dreams. My parochial education was not a good trip, though I did come out of it with good penmanship. High school offered a brave new world, with boundless opportunities unfurled. Miss Essler, free-flying, one of a kind, taught me to creatively speak my mind. Mr. Kramer, the viceroy of music and wit, showed me the joys of the orchestra pit. Mrs. Carroll and Mrs. Leslie nurtured my voice to the promise of making a beautiful noise. The monarchs of music were my passion. I adored the voice of Judy Collins and ironed my hair in Baez fashion. Joni Mitchell sparked my imagination, kick-starting my poetic emancipation. But the butterflies in no way precluded men. I rejoiced to Dylan, Lightfoot, Tom Rush, and Cohen, taught myself to play guitar, harmonizing from afar. Beethoven, Chopin, Haydn, and Bruch, indulging in dreams curled up with a book in a nook. The music in my soul sustains me through all the years, evoking great joy and often tears. At university, I took to the stage, the leonine butterfly set free. There was drama aplenty in my family tree. Rebecca Nurse, Maggie Antrobus, Linda Lohman, my alter egos, belting Mama Rose and Oliver's Nancy to the back rows. Stage lighting and sound with artistic finesse, and wielding a jigsaw, my personal best. Poetry flowed freely in those days, creative juices coming in waves, influenced by Angelou, Cummings, Whitman, and Frost. I wrote prolifically, thoughts tumbled and tossed. But those 4 years ended much too soon, and this butterfly pitched headlong into a monsoon. Due to the laws of supply and demand, no permanent teaching job could I land. I ended up in Ann Arbor, got into banking. Computers deemed to be my crash landing. I've had many adventures since that time and managed to find love and happiness in kind. Butterflies still surround me, urging me to new heights, opening the possibility of future delights. Thank you.
2021. Iron Butterflies by Roberta Carr Flynn. In a her, where does the iron end? And where will I locate the butterfly? Butterflies bring hope. Iron can blend. Throughout time, women are the ones who tend to life's events. Again, when death walks by, in a her, where does the iron end? One comes to mind, Jesus the Magdalene. While others left, she, faithful, stayed to cry. Butterflies bring hope. Iron can blend. And Joan of Arc, strong, unwilling to bend to British inquisitors, she would not lie. In a her, Where does the iron end? Anais Nin and Dorothy Day lend us lessons about living poor and why butterflies bring hope. Iron can blend. Ruth Bader Ginsburg's lacy collars send the message that strong on soft can rely. In a her, where does the iron end? Butterflies bring hope. Iron can blend.
Many of us know of Rosie the Riveter from the poster where she's flexing her muscles saying, "We can do it." Few of us realize how many Rosies there were and the dangers they faced. Rosie the Riveters, working women on the home front in World War II. From 41, we married women were no longer seen as trouble. Recruited for our country's sake, we saw our numbers double. It was do it for your husband, make it safe for him. We showed up, no hand was given. It was sink or swim. More died at home than on the front. Safety ignored the hours long. Without training, we lacked confidence, but we kept at it, became strong. Adele vowed, "I'll do what any man can. We're more than wives and mothers." Her job, her words, fixing the welding screw-ups of others. In cramped and stifling spaces, Anna welded, never fainting. She took pride in a good piece, like an artist with a painting. They promised women equal pay for men's jobs, no supervision. But semi-skilled and unskilled women earned plenty of derision. 100,000 armored vehicles and tanks, 300,000 aircraft, 800,000 landing craft, 6 million bombs, 41 billion rounds of ammunition. Between Pearl Harbor and D-Day, that's what we manufactured. The men came home. We got pink slips. So many dreams were fractured.
My name is Priscilla Turner Spada, and I'm a poet here in Newburyport. And I'll be reading two poems. The first one is a villanelle, and it's about my mother, and it's called No Car, No Problem, 1950s, with my sister. We rode and rode, it felt like flying, when mother brought us on the bus. The route we took was mystifying. A single mom, no time for sighing. She'd pack a picnic, make no fuss. We rode and rode, it felt like flying. The trip, 2 hours time, belying a fidgeting, delighted us. The route we took was mystifying. Around the bend, there, we are eyeing Nantasket Beach, the ocean bluffs. We rode the waves, it felt like flying. The Ferris wheel was like defying gravity, the downs and ups, the rides, arcades, so mystifying. Our hands and mothers, her stance denying obstacles, instilling trust. We rode and rode, she set us flying. Left to cope, since father's dying, cleaning houses, others' dust, was her route, but mystifying how she made life satisfying, juggling things to save a buck, so we could ride, feel like flying, the routes she gave us, mystifying. My second poem is a rondo, and it's called Iron Butterflies. We kept marching when they tried to stop us. We were unified in our cause, we suffragettes, first in duos and quartets, soon in multitudes, stateswide, we gathered, spinster, wife, and bride, our bustles, corsets put aside, white dresses, placards, no regrets, we kept marching. Temperance, abolition, we cried. 19th Amendment ratified, we demanded, our minds set. They threatened us with epithets, arrests. We rose like butterflies. We kept marching. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Paulette Demers Turco, a Newburyport poet. I am grateful for this opportunity to be part of this 4th year of HERstory, sponsored by the Actors Studio of Newburyport. I will read 2 of my own poems, the first highlighting a mother and daughter. Fitting. Stand tall and hold the pins like this. It's time you know your mother's story. You know I graduated high school, wanted to be a nurse. I could have been like Florence Nightingale, heroic, saving soldiers' lives in World War II. But when your dad proposed, I had to choose. I promised he'd be my husband once the war was through. Who knew 5 years would pass? With his right ear deaf from birth, still the army took him, proud to serve, but came home nearly deaf at 26. I loved him, knew I could manage motherhood. But you only see yourself. Dear, I've tried to teach you, but stand still. You're proud. Believe that you can change the world. I learned to live invisible, and so must you. You've had too many graduations, and still you want more years in school. Marriage and career is not what girls are born and raised to do. You were not born to be in charge. Even on your wedding day, all women promise to obey. Look at me, for once. Our lives are lived invisible to everyone. You want attention? We can give each other hugs. Then back to work. It's the only way this life can work. Obey, do your duty. Pray to be in heaven for eternity. Now stand straight. This final fit must be exact. Oh, this wedding dress, your shoulders are so wide. Thank you. My second poem is my tribute to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Ruth. She lay in state. No one can take her place. Her favorite jabot, white of handmade lace, expressed her honor of her mother's gentle wisdom. Be a lady. Incremental changes to the law for every case was her guide. She spoke with skill and grace across her long career. Her steady pace led women's gains that were not accidental. She lay in state. Conservative, the court may now erase the gains in rights at home and in the workplace. Her jabots were so far from ornamental. Her influence is intercontinental. As heroine of justice, we embrace. she lay in state.
Anne Mulvey. My poem was inspired by Amanda Gorman, who inspired me. The title has within it a motto, lifting as we climb, which is the motto, was and is the motto of the National Association of Colored Women's Clubs, established in 1896. Iron Butterflies 2020, lifting as we climb. Strong as iron, women and girls are rising to make our homes, the world, the earth better. Climbing, lifting, following, honoring many mothers not named, honoring Sojourner, Ruth, Fannie Lou Hamer, strong as iron. Women and girls are rising, door knocking, poll watching, voting. Truth-telling, justice-seeking leaders, climbing, lifting, arm in arm, disarming bombs, borders, dictators. Cleaning out houses, the House, some senators. Strong as iron, women and girls are rising like bread, teaching math, science, writing poems, policies, prescriptions, letters. Climbing, lifting, laughing, excelling. Finding sweet honey in rocks, rocking. Kamala, Malala, many warriors stronger than steel. Women and girls are rising, lifting as we climb, singing, being, loving.